Tommy Rex, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and we're going big today, big band style, with the man himself, Mr. Mike Van Nuys. How you doing, sir?
Great.
I'm excited to talk to you. I know we're going to get a good history lesson here, but usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So do you remember originally what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Oh, well, actually, one of the first things was a singer. And it's because my mom was a singer. She was an opera singer, but she sang folk music too. And my dad sang, and they had a folk group back in the 60s, late 50s, early 60s. So I guess some of my early memories were them practicing. And I remember in elementary school, I tried out for some Gilbert and Sullivan thing, and I didn't get the part. But I sort of wanted to be like a lead in a musical ever since I was like 6. But that never happened.
So music's always been in the DNA at the household.
Yeah, that's for sure. Absolutely.
And then like as you were like hearing your mother perform and your father perform growing up, when was it that you knew you wanted to be a singer, but when was it that you kind of got the bug to start performing and learning instruments?
Well, interestingly enough, I had a group with my sisters, my older sisters, where I played ukulele and we all sang. And I was 5 years old at that point. And my father had a thing called the Vancouver Folk Song Circle. And that happened every Wednesday, just down the street from our house at a YWCA or YMCA. Anyway, it was a little place in the basement where my dad held forth this sort of open mic folk thing. And I remember performing with my sisters. I was 5, something like that, playing ukulele.
Nice. And then when did you start finding like other influences, like music that you would call your own, to influence you to go on and start playing other instruments?
Well, I was very fortunate that my dad was running this thing called the Vancouver Folk Song Society, and my mom and him had a group, and they had parties at my house where I lived. And I remember when I was about 4 or 5 years old, being woken up by these loud parties, and I'd come down the stairs. There's a little door with glass squares in it. I'd be banging on it, and then they'd let me come into the room, and there would be Brownie McGee and Sonny Terry would be there singing in the living room, or other times Reverend Gary Davis, Dave Van Ronk, all kinds of folky type people. And one of my dad's, he was a school teacher. One of his pupils was a really amazing banjo player and guitarist. And by the time I was about 8, I started taking lessons off him. It was a few years later, but serious lessons, learning how to do fingerstyle folk blues, and I played with a pick and with fingerstyle, and was very serious on guitar. And I discovered jazz guitar around the same time. Charlie Christian and Wes Montgomery and people like that. My dad had a huge record collection, and I guess about the time I was 11 years old. I started mining. It was in the basement, and he had every Duke Ellington 78 and all his Count Basie. And I remember finding the Charlie Parker stuff with Miles Davis on Dial, and Joe Venuti with Adrian Rollini. And I was really mining this stuff seriously. I learning the Eddie Lang, Joe Venuti stuff. That my dad had all these 78s. It was unbelievable. Plus, he had a huge collection of vinyl. And I remember, listening to B.B. King on a King record that was like, it was see-through vinyl. It was a fantastic record. Anyway, I was getting seriously into playing blues guitar, and I hadn't given up on the piano, but my mom wanted me to learn classical music, and it didn't work out. But I started studying guitar real seriously when I was a teenager. I was in a couple of different bands, and when Jimi Hendrix hit, people like I saw Jimmy Page with the Yardbirds 3 times in that period. There were little places like the Gardens Auditorium at the P&E here, and Kerrisdale Arena. And I guess I was like 13 years old when I started hanging out with some people that did lights for the psychedelic. This is 1966, and I was running the strobe light in a place called the Afterthought. And then I was hanging out at a place called the Retinal Circus. Muddy Waters played there. Junior Wells, the Grateful Dead, Big Brother and the Holding Company. I saw the Doors at the Retinal Circus before Light My Fire had come out.
Oh, wow.
About 200 people there. And remember, I had a guitar pick in my pocket, and Robbie Krieger says, "Does anybody have a guitar pick?" Because he played mainly fingerstyle. And I had one, and I went up and I gave Robbie Krieger a guitar pick.
Nice.
Yeah, and he used it on Love Me Two Times, which hadn't been released yet. The record had, the first record had been released in the States. And I had only heard the long version of Light My Fire on that record. But then they put it out as they cut it down, and it became a big radio hit. So I think there were about 200 people at the Retinal Circus. And I remember they did 2 sets. And the girl I was with had some pot. And I remember Jim Morrison said, "Has anybody got a joint?" And we went down the bottom of the fire escape, and I smoked a joint with Jim Morrison.
Wow.
And Mary Mortefi. Her sister Anne Mortefi became kind of a bit of a star around BC. But anyway, Mary Mortefi, me and Jim Morrison smoked a joint before the second set. And I remember falling asleep during "This Is the End." It was pretty fun. So,
It was your lullaby, huh?
wake up, you're missing the show. But they were superb. And then about a year later, they were at this huge, hockey rink, 22,000 people at the Coliseum. And that was a great show too. Really superb. That was around the time they put out Strange Days. And they did When the Music's Over and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Turn
That's
out.
amazing. That's amazing. I read too that because you mentioned that working at that club that Muddy Waters came through. There was that you actually got to drink champagne with Muddy Waters. You smoked
Many years later, in the 70s, I went to Montreal, and I stayed there for a month. And the guy that I was staying with, his best friend, was running a club there called In Concert, and Muddy played there for a whole week. And that's about the same time as The Last Waltz, that period. The Last Waltz, Scorsese. It was that band, with Bob and Paul Osher, a beautiful band, and they played their whole weekend. I remember going backstage, and after every night, he would open a bottle of champagne and share it with people back there. He said, I can't drink whiskey anymore. This is it. He said, I got a glass of champagne at the end of the night.
Nice. And I read also. I mean, you've seen a lot of the legends. You went saw the Rolling Stones in San Francisco too.
I certainly did. I was at Altamont. That was a crazy day. The Stones had just played a major tour, right? And if you've seen the movie Give Me Shelter, they were on fire. I mean, it was Mick Taylor, Keith Richards was just like one instrument. I mean, the two guitars fit together so perfectly. And of course, it was Bill Wyman and Charlie Watts. And they didn't have a horn section or anything like that. It was just the core group. And the day was horrifying. And I was, at one point, I was underneath about 20 people when Mick Jagger says, move back. Well, a bunch of people moved back, but nobody moved back behind me. And I was in a dog pile. I scared the hell out of me. And I guess that's when the guy got stabbed. Apparently he pulled out a gun or something, and then he got stabbed 26 times. It was pretty scary stuff. But the Stones sounded amazing. But I saw them back in '64 when I was 10 at a little place called the it was the Gardens Auditorium first, and then another place right next door. This is on the PNE grounds, the Pacific National Exhibition grounds. And the first time I saw them is when Not Fade Away was a big hit. Second time I saw them was when Satisfaction was a big hit. Then the third time I saw them was when Under My Thumb was a big hit. It's PNE Forum. And I guess I was like 10, 12, and 14, somewhere in there. Like it's a period. You know, the albums. The first album would be English Music Hitmakers. And then the one with Satisfaction is Out of Our Heads, I believe. And then the album Aftermath. And that was like a real big influence on me. It's a superb, one-of-a-kind band.
Yeah. And then when did you start, playing with your own bands?
Yeah, well, right about the time I was 14, I hooked up with a band in my high school, and we had 3 horn players, and the lead singer was a harmonica player. So we were sort of in the blues R&B vein, and the horn players were great. I was the guitar player, and I was getting pretty good, but I got fired because I had like an acoustic guitar with pickups on it, and it was so. I'm going to the rehearsal space. It was in the basement, and I look through the basement window, and I see this guy, Olaf de Shields, this black guy with a Telecaster, and he had a Fender amp and a Telecaster, and that's no pedals, nothing, and he had it down. Olaf's still one of my good friends, and a great guitar player from the Vancouver area. Anyway, I started playing with a fellow named Herald Nix, and you can look him up. I played with him for 15 years, and we made some pretty good headway.
Yeah, I saw that too. You got so the previous bands, was that the Epics or the Trespassers?
No, that's way later.
Okay.
After Harold went kind of solo, and then he was doing some trio stuff. I was working with. There's a lot of bands that I was with. I was with Herald Nix, and I started a band called the Yodells, which was a 7-piece Western swing band. And the lead singer Howard, he was in a band called the Scramblers, which is a hard rock band. And at the same time, he was also with Jimmy Roy, who's played with Big Sandy and also with Ray Kondo, a steel guitar player. Anyway, he and Howard Ricks and myself, Joni Kepler, and Ian Tiles were in a band called the Stingin' Hornets. And that was a strictly rockabilly band with upright bass, slapping bass. And I played piano in that band because while I was playing with Herald Nix, I started playing piano again. Harold's a really great guitar player, and we had a lot of things where we had two guitars going. But the period right before we put out his first album, he wanted me to switch over to piano, which I did. And I bought a Lesage upright, and we carried it around with us. It didn't have a pin block, so it wasn't that heavy. It's like 150 pounds. It was real strings and hammers and everything. Anyway, we recorded mostly with me playing rhythm guitar. Like I had a Martin guitar, and Harold played the electric, and we had upright bass and no drums. And we put out a demo that we recorded with a hardwood floor and a high ceiling place, and we won the contest to be the warm-up band for the Clash in what was it?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that next. I see.
1979? Was it? What you'll have to check. The album London Calling was a huge hit.
Yeah.
So whatever the date that was, got a drummer that was in another rockabilly band called Rocky Craig and the Rockabilly Kings, and we stole him out of that band, and he played drums with us at the Kinsman Fieldhouse, and we played in Calgary and Edmonton in front of like 25,000 people. Like we were the warm-up band for the Clash when they were at the top, and that was pretty exciting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then when did the Mike Van Nuys big band start for you? When did you branch off on your own?
Strangely enough, that was in the 90s. I was doing a lot of gigs with my 5-piece band all around town, and I had a great little band, and I got hired to do the warm-up spot at the Commodore Ballroom, which is a famous place here. I was the warm-up for Johnny Winters, and I hired 5 horn players. So I had alto, tenor, bari, trombone, and trumpet. And we did the warm-up for 2 nights in a row for Johnny Winter. So they hired me that was part of the Vancouver Jazz Festival. So the next year, I hired another trumpet and a trombone. Anyway, I had 8 horns the next year. And that was the Du Maurier Jazz Festival around 1996. And I recorded that, but I never put it out. It didn't work out because I wanted him to hook it up to the board and also have a mic so we could hear the audience. Well, the mic he put in a drawer, and he never hooked it up to the it was terrible recording. Anyway, then just before I recorded this, I got a couple of years before that, I got the band after the Commodore. I guess it was about 5 years later, I did the big band again at the Plaza of Nations. And that recording was pretty good. A lot of the same songs off this recording. So when I thought, well, I should really do a really good recording of this before my voice gives out. Because I was like singing like a bird on when I was in my 30s. But a long time went between the 90s and the 2025. And I could still sing. And I thought, well, let's do it again. And so I got the best arrangers in the whole of Canada, Bill Runge, to work with me on it. And we got the 9-piece horn section together, and the rest of the band with girl singers, and it's a whole different thing. Well, we did most of it live off the floor, and you could sort of hear that energy on the record.
So yeah, and then you so that we're talking right now then about the Ain't That Lovin' You Baby album.
That's right.
And then you recorded that at the legendary Mushroom Studios.
Yeah,
It's called the
it's
Mushroom
now called Afterlife. But yeah, and the same guys that have the place that it used to be Mushroom had a place on an old warehouse for quite a while, and we recorded most of it at the old warehouse, and I did a lot of overdubs at the spot where Mushroom Studios used to be. I just saw a thing on the news last night, the Mushroom sign. It's quite iconic. It hadn't been lit up as a neon sign, and they took it down, and they're going to refurbish it and put it in a museum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so as you were saying, like a lot of these songs have been around for a while then, and now you're
in my repertoire. And I'll, there are songs that you can't do with a small band, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done them with a smaller band, but this incarnation is sort of like what I did back in the 90s. And I just wanted to get it down on vinyl for once and for all. And I've always wanted to do it, and now it's done, and I'm really, really happy with the sound.
And then you wrote all the majority of the songs yourself, then, correct? Or
no, these are all classics. Like I got like songs that went back to Ethel Waters and Cab Calloway, Stormy Weather, and the repertoire. See, I was able to mine all this jazz stuff from my dad's 78 record collection.
Gotcha.
And I really got into it. I was fortunate enough, I found out that Duke Ellington was playing at the Queen Elizabeth Theatre back in 64. And I went to see him, and he had a lot of the original guys with him. And it was an amazing concert. And then over the next few years, I got to see Count Basie twice. And it really, blew me away. And I saw the Buddy Rich Orchestra and the Buddy Rich Big Band. Incredible stuff. And I've always loved big band music.
Yeah,
and
you mentioned
the creativity of all the individual musicians. And it wasn't just about the, reading music. It was about the soloists and the way Duke Ellington wrote his music to feature the sounds of some of the great soloists that he had in his band.
yeah, you mentioned so Stormy Weather is one of the tracks.
Yeah,
you guys did. Yield Not to Temptation. I'm curious about that track.
Well, that is Bobby Blue Bland, right? And Bobby Blue Bland has always been like the lush horns. It's a smaller horn section, but with his 5 horns, unbelievable lush arrangements that they produced on Duke Records. And I was lucky enough to see Bobby Blue Bland in a small club outside of Seattle. Really amazing. I went to see him at the Commodore, but I got there late. I was busy doing something, and I heard the last song, not even the whole song. So I was playing at the Commodore quite a bit, so I had sort of carte blanche there. I could go backstage, and I went backstage, and I talked to the guitar player, Wayne Bennett, and I said, "I just missed your show." And he said, "I'm a guitar player, I play in these different bands, Herald Nix and the Stinging Hornets. And I've done my big band here." And he said, oh, why don't you come see us tomorrow night in Seattle? So I did, and it was a real adventure. I went to this. It was a club. It was an all-black club, and there was these Cadillacs on each side of the road. And I went in there, and it was literally I was the only white person there. So I looked around, and there were 2 other white people there. I said, "Can I sit here?" So I sat at this little table, and it was a real experience. I mean, I had a tape recorder with me because I wanted to have a reason why I was flying down to Seattle. I said, I'm a reporter, and I had a press pass. I said, I'm going down to cover the Bobby Blue Bland show in Ballard. And anyway, so I hid it under my overcoat. It was wintertime. And I put the microphone on the table, and I didn't have headphones. So after the first set, I went to the washroom, and I just put it on a low volume just to make sure it was working. And you're bang, 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 bang. You motherfucker, you're trying to make a bootleg of our show. So it was the drummer, and he grabbed the tape recorder. He says, "We'll be talking to you after the show." And so I got one set, and then I had to sit it was a 12-piece band. I just sat in this chair with these 12 guys around me, arguing whether they should beat me up and stomp on the machine. But this Wayne Bennett guy, I talked to him the night before, and he let me play his guitar. He showed me a lick on his guitar. He says, "Now you play it." And it was the turnaround from Stormy Monday Blues. And it's got the 9th chords and the little thing you do with your baby finger. And I nailed the lick. And so he stuck up for me. He says, no, this guy's a musician. He's not making a bootleg. He just loves our music. And so they gave me back the machine, and I went out and I hooked up with the 2 other white people, and they drove back to Portland. I went back to Portland with them, and took a flight home the next day. That was pretty scary, but really exciting. And Bobby Blue Bland, I mean, he's just amazing. The recordings of Bobby Blue Bland have always been at the top of the list for me.
And then who's the one behind You're Driving Me Crazy?
That is Professor Longhair. You know him? Yeah.
No.
He's from New Orleans. He was a piano player from New Orleans, and just a real individualist. He created his own piano style, and he's just an amazing, phenomenal musician that everybody should be hip to. So Professor Longhair, amazing piano player, amazing writer, and performer, personality. If you get a chance, there's a documentary on that I watched on PBS with Toots Washington, Professor Longhair, and the piano player, the writer. I'm losing it. He played with Elvis Costello right before he passed away. What's his name again? It'll come to me. Anyway, the 3 of them we're going to do a concert together with 3 grand pianos, and so it's a documentary coming up to the concert. And then Professor Longhair had a heart attack and died.
Oh no!
But he was like loved by people in New Orleans. So there's a funeral march for him with 30,000 people, and that's part of the documentary. Doing the second line and all this stuff. And so they did the concert with just the 2 piano players without Professor Longhair.
Mm. And then let's talk about the title track, Ain't That Lovin' You, Baby.
That's also Bobby Blue Bland.
Okay.
Yeah. So you get to hear what the kind of really tough blues that Bobby Blue wrote. And just wanted to do tribute to him and to the memory of seeing him. So I love to get that band together and cook with that feeling that he created back in Memphis. So it's a Memphis soul sound, right?
And then that's the title for the album, and that what gets ready to drop next month or
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
where will people be able to pick it up at?
Yeah, it's going to be everywhere, online, of course, and vinyl. So I'm sending some vinyl around. I'll send some. What's your main record store down there for blues and jazz?
Oh man, it's been sad because a lot of especially after COVID, a lot of the old bomb and pop ones, we've lost. So I can't even tell you who's still around right now.
We'll figure it out. There's got to be somebody who's the top vinyl guy in or girl in Cleveland that's because vinyl is a really happening thing, especially for jazz and blues.
I would say like probably Brothers Lounge in Cleveland. That would be. I could see you guys playing a spot like that, but I don't know.
I'm just talking about sending some albums down there.
Oh, okay.
You
Yeah.
play vinyl on your show or
Online, Mike. It's online.
oh, you're an online show. You don't have a turn
For sales, record sales, online.
Oh, the record sales will be online.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice. And then like for anybody out there that's like kind of new to hearing about you and wants to follow what's going on in the world of Mike Van Nuys, where would you send them?
www.mikevannuys.com. That's where to go. And that's Northern Electric Records is another site. Northern Electric with a hyphen between the Northern and Electric.
Okay, gotcha. And then are there now with the release of this album? Are there any plans to get out there and support it? Tour?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be doing a big record release here in March when the whole band's available. The top players on this album are really busy guys, so we're getting a date together for that. And then I hope to go across Canada and down the coast and probably doing some gigs in I haven't got any gigs set right now, but Montreal and Toronto and Montreal and hopefully New York.
Nice. Well, yeah, I'd love to see it in the States. It's got to be tough with so many artists and performers in it to set up a tour of that magnitude, though.
You bet. Well, I've got a lot of friends down there, so I'm hoping I can hire some horn players from the States and give some hot horn players some work. As I got a lot of this stuff is on sheet music, so you give these guys the sheet music a few weeks in advance, and you get together for one rehearsal, and it just sounds like $1 million. I don't know whether you ever. Then you got guys that can solo, and I have a friend in New Orleans. I'd like to go there with, and he has a million friends that play in horn bands down there. So I just have to go there with a 5-piece band and hire all the horn players down there.
Awesome. Well, Mike, before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you a couple questions I normally ask my guests that I have on. Who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Well, my mom and dad, is that they inspired me so much musically, and my first guitar teacher, Barry Hall, who really inspired me, and aside from my mom and dad, I guess I have to say the people that I worked with. That I got to go to those clubs, the Retinal Circus, the Afterthought, and the Pender Ballroom. People like Sam Perry and Al Neal and He was a great jazz piano player. I got to see some of the greatest jazz at small clubs in Vancouver, and it's because of people like that that let me in when I wasn't even allowed to be in the club.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it sounds like another project on the horizon for you would be to put a book out, because you've got a lot of stories of history. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's some crazy stories, all right. And yeah, I would like to put a book out. Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Well, we'll definitely keep our eyes peeled for that, for sure. But Mike, man, thank you for your time. It was really great talking with you. And what I've heard, it's amazing. So I
appreciate it.
remember like when I was in college and I was taking some musical courses, and then like they were like, "Oh, you got to go." I'm more of like a heavy metal guy,
Right
but,
on.
I love
I saw Deep Purple.
Yeah, I love
when Machine Head came out, and it was a double bill at this tiny little place called the Peony Forum, and it was supposed to be Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. And then right after Black Sabbath did about an hour and 20 minutes, then the voice comes on and says, "Black Sabbath will not be performing tonight due to a problem at the border, and you can get your money back at the door. But if you want to stick around, Deep Purple will be playing another set." So we got to hear over 3 hours of Deep Purple, and I just loved it. And that's the roots of heavy metal, right?
Yeah.
So good.
I remember I had to write a paper on a jazz performance, so I remember as a student going to that Brothers Lounge that I mentioned, and it was like, I love, over the years I've made so many friends in the musical world of all different genres, so it's just like I enjoy the skill and the discipline and everything that goes into the art. So and then all the music can take you on a journey, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what you guys are doing. I enjoyed listening to the album, and I encourage people to go to the website and pre-order, and definitely get the vinyl. Keep vinyl alive.
You bet, and keep the music alive. The roots music. That's the reason that I did all of these songs, is because I'm playing tribute to what I think is the legacy that I hope will never get lost in the shuffle. There's all kinds of great music out there. Don't get me wrong. I love heavy metal too, and punk, and all of R&B, hip hop and stuff. But I don't want to get the music that I put on this album lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Mike, thanks you so much for your time, man. It was really great talking with you.
You too, Bill. So how can I get you? It's your Dom, and I'm trying to read your .com name.
Yeah, I'll send everything to Richard.
Okay.
I'll get that information to Richard, and yeah, we'll
checking you out.
touch.
Right on.
All right! Listen up! Hold on to your seats. Grab your girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You're listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.